Welcome to the ThunderCast, your martial athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hugnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the ThunderCast, and this is the third episode in this series where we're getting to know our opponents, and this week we're getting to know EKU. So I'm joined by Wes Chandler. Wes, welcome to the show, and if you would, tell everyone how you're connected to Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, first of all, appreciate you having me on, Russ. Really appreciate it. So I am the play-by-play voice for EKU. So our broadcasts are set up into two different segments. So we have a radio crew and we also have a television crew for our ESPN Plus call. So for home games, I will be on the audio side, the radio stream side. I'll be the play-by-play voice for all home games. And then I'll also travel and we serve as a three-man booth for our away games. And it's just an audio stream only. So I will be one of the three guys in the EKU broadcast booth when we visit you all on Saturday.
Very cool. We've got our own version of Steve Cotton here, fans, for those of you guys who know Steve and love Steve. Everyone that knows Steve says Steve's a great guy. And the reason is, you know why they say that, right?
He probably pays them.
No, it's the truth. He might make some wood for them in his wood shop because he does that well too. But no, we love the voice of the herd.
Man of many talents.
He is, man. He is. Wes, we're going to get into this. I'm going to ask you a series of questions so our fans can get to know the Eastern Kentucky team a lot better. But before we do any of that, I've got to get a word from our sponsors at Leasure Oliver PLLC. If you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com. Now, Wes, I like to start this series by putting my people on the spot. And I don't know if you've watched the first two episodes that I did to kind of cheat, to see what that question.
I did not. No, I did not.
Ah!
Go ahead and kick me off. End the conversation.
All right, guys, we had a great show. We'll see you next week. No, I mean that's totally fair, totally fine. The deal is I usually put people on the spot and I have them do a score prediction and then we work backwards. Kind of unconventional instead of doing it at the end. But in this situation, I'm not talking to a podcast. I'm talking to an employee of a university, of the team. I mean, so you wouldn't ask the head coach to do that. You wouldn't ask. So I'm not going to ask you that. So we're just going to start off where we normally do. Is that fine?
Sounds good to me.
ESPN predictor matchup, as you probably know, those things change preseason, then each week based on how the teams are doing, injury reports and things like that. So starting out this year, you guys were at I think 7.8% chance of winning. And then it went to 9% chance of winning after week one, which you played Louisville and Marshall played Georgia. And then it went up this week. You beat Houston Christian 20-10. We lost to Missouri State 21-20 at home, and it's now 12.5. Now, again, that's still heavily favored, but it's trending in Eastern Kentucky's direction. You have any thoughts on ESPN's predictor model for these sorts of games?
Well, I think it's pretty accurate. I really do, because you look at FBS versus FCS, obviously 99.9% of the time, an FBS school is going to be favored. And I think a lot of those expert analysis, they come from seeing just what the final score was. Mm-hmm. There's no way all the media in every sport can watch every snap of every game.
They can't.
So it's just impossible. So I think they take the final score. They see, was it a 10-point win? Was it a 30-point win? Okay, this team lost by this amount. So I think that weighs heavily into each analyst or expert's opinion or
Mm-hmm.
projection. So I think that's pretty accurate. I will say EKU they have a lot of confidence going in.
Okay.
Because they are a team that, they come from that Roy Kidd mentality, the old coach there who won 2 national championships back when EKU and Marshall was a big rivalry there in the old days. The head coach now, Walt Wells, was an assistant for Roy Kidd when he was on the sidelines for Eastern. So he's brought that mentality back to the football program, and they come in expecting to win. There's a big difference in hoping to win and expecting to win. And he's kind of bought into his guys that, hey, we're not going down here to collect a little check, and we're coming down here to win a football game. And that's the mindset that they go about doing it.
Yeah, and with the ESPN model, for those of you watching, listening at home, they run 1,000 simulations, and that's where they get their percentages from. So the simulations is exactly what Wes is talking about when they factor these things in, hey, here's what they did against this team, here's what they did against that, here's how much they rush for, how much they score. So out of that 1,000 times, they have Eastern Kentucky winning 125.
Are you sure they don't go with the video game model there? Just two players can play the video game, and whoever wins.
I wouldn't put it past them. I would not. But you mentioned coaching. Let's start there with you talking about your team. If you would just highlight your head coach, kind of how long he's been there, mentality, and then your offensive coach and your defensive coach.
Yeah. So everything starts with our head coach, Walt Wells. This is his 6th year now. I'm sure a lot of your all's fans have probably heard the story of him a couple of years ago on the eve of their first game. I think it was 3 years ago now. He suffered a widowmaker heart attack and had to be revived 3 times, one in his office, a couple of times at the hospital. So it's kind of really a remarkable story that Coach Wells is still here with us, honestly.
Yeah.
So that just says a lot about the toughness of I gotta have a little luck with that too. That was just remarkable. And then 2, so he misses our first game against Eastern Michigan because his heart attack was on a Sunday. First game was on that next Saturday, so less than a week from the first game. He misses the first game because he's still in the hospital. He sends a text to the entire team while they're on the bus to the Eastern Michigan game saying, I get to go home today. And so that was kind of a rallying cry.
Wow.
Almost go down to Eastern Michigan, an FBS school, almost beat them. 1 possession game. Could have won that game. Then the week later, we play another FBS team in Bowling Green, and he's on the sidelines for that game. Not coaching, but he's on the sidelines for that game. That just shows you a little bit about the passion that guy has for football. He eats everything football. I mean, it's just insane. I've never seen a guy that just wants to consume so much football than Walt Wells. He's done a really remarkable job of kind of making this program back to where it used to be in the late 70s and early 80s when they were one of the powers in, it was then Division I AA, now known as FCS. So he's done a nice job kind of trending up the program back again. Then our offensive coordinator, Andy Richmond, he's in his 6th year too. He's done a really remarkable job. He had Parker McKinney, who was our quarterback for, I know opposing fans always said, Parker McKinney's been there for 12 years because he torched everybody. And that's the kind of guy you want. He was kind of our big-time quarterback. He graduated 2 years ago. So we're on our 3rd different quarterback in 3 years. But the offense is kind of run through now Miles Burkett, who is their quarterback transfer from UAlbany. But Andy Richmond is a guy that, you'll probably see a little more run than pass on Saturday. And he's got some playmakers out at tailback. You'll see him catch a couple passes as well. Some wide receivers will do the same as well. And then Jake Johnson, our defensive coordinator, also coming along with Walt Wells. They're all in their 6th year. And the great thing about this coaching staff is a lot of these guys that Walt Wells has brought in when he got the job at Eastern, he's been able to retain. So it's been a staff that's worked together for mostly almost 6 years now. So everybody's on the same page. And the defense in 2023 was not very good. They took huge strides in 2024. And now I think you're taking another step here this season. We've already had 2 games and we've got 2 defensive touchdowns on the year. So defense is definitely one of the strongest areas of EKU so far.
Well, we're going to start with offense since that's not the strong area, and I want to hear as much about that as I can and not how you're going to kill us on defense. But seriously, let's start with offense over there. Type of offense that we'll see, maybe some sets that will be the most prominent, and then a few players to watch for in the passing game and the running game.
Yeah, you'll probably see a lot of pistol look
Okay.
with Burkett, the quarterback, out of the shotgun. Usually it'll be some combination of Braden Latham, who is our number 1 running back. You'll also probably see some Jalen Montgomery, who's really quick, doesn't have the same type of size. He's our number 2 tailback. You'll see probably a lot of running attempts early on just to kind of get that rushing game established. Top receivers for Burkett is Marcus Cowwise. He led them in receptions and yards a year ago as a true freshman. So he kind of made an immediate impact on a team that went to the playoffs last year. So he's the top target. The only thing with him is we're kind of waiting for him to get going. He's only been targeted twice in our first 2 games, only 1 catch in each game. So I'd like to see Cowwise get going again. Other receivers, you'll see Jaden West. He's a Richmond native, so he played his high school ball maybe 3 miles from Richmond, so he's kind of the hometown kid.
Okay.
Daquan Stanley, who transferred in from USF a couple of years ago. He's really a remarkable story, and kind of a quick plug on Daquan Stanley is he's a really fascinating story. His mom and parents battled substance abuse when he was younger, so he was put up for adoption, and him and his sister would alternate days where they would eat because they couldn't afford 2 meals for the family.
Wow.
It's really remarkable story. So he's had to overcome a lot. He's one of the top targets on this team as well. And probably you might see a catch or 2 made by the tight end, Caleb Schlachter. Most of our tight ends are blocking tight ends and not a true receiving threat. But those are the guys. And the biggest question offensively is just the offensive line. Okay. We graduated 4 of our 5 O linemen from a year ago. One's playing in the CFL right now. He's a starter in Peyton Collins. One signed on with another CFL team, but then got cut. Had a freshman last year that transferred into Purdue. He got the NIL money to go to Purdue. And then one just our center graduated. So we've had to fill a lot of holes on the offensive line, and that's probably the biggest question of our offense is, can the line protect Burkett?
And you mentioned it earlier, but if I'm remembering correctly, you said possibly 60% to 40% run-to-pass ratio you'd think you'd see?
I would say that's probably accurate, yeah.
Okay.
You have a guy, Miles Burkett, who's coming on. This will be just his 3rd game. He's only been on campus for a couple of months, so I think they're trying to ease him into game action. I'd say as the season goes along, it may be more 55-45, but I would say kind of right now that is probably a good, accurate 60-40 split.
Okay. Shifting over to defense. You already told us about the coach and a little bit about the philosophy and that it's a strong point, but if you would, what kind of base sets are they in, and how often are you looking at blitzing and players to watch out for there as well? Yeah,
so it'd be a 3-4 that the Colonels will have. And the strongest, there's a lot of strong areas, but the outside linebackers are probably the strongest that Eastern has had in a while. And Coach Wells has said to us, he's said it in coaches' shows, he's said it in a couple of interviews we've had with him, is he believes that this secondary can be the best that he's had in his 5.5 years at Eastern. So that is started by Jaheim Ward. Jaheim Ward's transferred from Austin Peay a couple of years ago. He was an all-conference as a safety last year. He's kind of one of the ball hawks just goes wherever the ball is. Got a really good cornerback in Vito Tisdale, who started his career at Kentucky, then went on to Colorado, played with Deion Sanders there for a year at Colorado, only played in a couple of games there, has had to overcome some injuries in his career, but he is one of the hardest workers on the EKU team. They have this technology that they put on the players that determine kind of work ethic and how hard you work. And Vito Tisdale and a receiver in Jackson House is the two guys that top the charts as far as just pure hardest workers on the team, according to that technology they use.
That is extremely good information. I always like that. Those guys that have that nonstop motor and that drive. I love to hear that.
Yeah, you'll see that in Vito Tisdale, and he kind of almost takes it personal when the quarterback throws to the receiver he's covering. I mean, he kind of takes that personal. He doesn't. He thinks he wants to be covered to where there's no targets.
Yeah. Special teams. I'd like to know 3 different phases of that. Your kicker, how accurate, but also, distance that we're looking at, and then punting, and then returners.
Yeah. So we got a first-year kicker in Buzz Flabiano, transferred in from UTEP. He spent 2 years there. We graduated our kicker from last year, and funny story. The kicker we had that graduated is my analyst in our radio booth now. So,
Gotcha.
So we moved him up to the radio booth. But he has a accurate and powerful leg. I don't know if he has the type of leg that the kicker that just graduated in Patrick Nations. I would say you probably won't see anything 45 and out for Eastern on Saturday. I would say it'd probably be mostly, 45 and in. He, interestingly enough, in the Louisville game, they kicked a field goal from, I believe it was the left hash. And that's kind of the weaker area, the weakest hash for him. And he split the upright. So that was a good sign for him. But I would say probably a good leg, still working to make it better, obviously. But I would say probably 45 would be about his limit, 45, 47, somewhere in there. Okay. Punter's first team all conference. He's got a boomer of a leg. He is really impressive. He was a 1/10 of a yard last year from setting the program record in average. Okay. And we've had some good punters here over the last couple of years. One went on to play in the NFL. And so we've had some good ones. And he was a 1/10 of a yard from tying that record in a single season. So, and his name is Jacob Baker. He's a kind of a local kid, about an hour from Richmond. So he's got a very strong leg. I think he was a field goal kicker in high school, obviously. Of course, they play multiple positions, but he's one of the top, field goal kickers in KHSAA history, the Kentucky high school history. So he's got a boomer of a leg. The snaps are from a different guy this year. You'll see Blake Howard be the long snapper, and they'll have a different short snapper, Quade Luganbill, who's actually the son of Tom Luganbill, one of the ACC analysts for college football. He'll be the short snapper as well.
So before we get into the return game on special teams, you mentioned that this punter has such a big leg and that he was great in high school and everything. Is there any chance to see him in some of these long distance scenarios, maybe before a half or at the end of the game or something, where they trot him out to try a longer one?
That's certainly possible. I don't think that'll happen because I don't think they want him to. I think they want him to do strictly punting. Okay. They're kind of taking that away from with Flabiano. I think they're trying to work to just get him more reps, honestly, because he had a couple of years at UTEP, not really a ton of repetition in game action for him. He has a pretty good success rate, but I would be surprised if Baker goes out there and try to kick a long one right before half or right at the end of the game. I'd be surprised.
Just had to ask. Returning crew for punts and kickoffs. Who do you got?
So the primary kick and return guy is Jalen Montgomery. He's our backup tailback. I've talked to him, and he's self-proclaimed the fastest guy on the team. I think there's probably about 2 or 3 others that want to challenge him to that and make him back it up. But he's the type of guy that can really get out in space with really shifty, can make some guys miss. He was one of the better returners in our conference, the UAC, a year ago. Haven't been able to get him going truly this year in the first 2 games. You know, obviously one being the Louisville game, it's kind of hard to get going in a way you want to there. But they're going to try some different things this week in special teams to get him more in open space, get better blocking, because Houston Christian kind of really bottled him up in the return game last week. So I think you're going to see maybe some changes that EKU makes to try to get the return game going, because he's really fast. Doesn't have a lot of meat on his bones, but he can weave in those tight spaces the best of anyone.
So you're telling our coaching staff that's going to listen to this that they should watch out for the double reverse on the kickoffs, right?
Hey, I don't know about that. We'll see though. I'd love to see it.
Let's finish this up. We've talked about our offense, we've talked about our defense and our special teams of what we might expect. Let's talk now for these final couple of questions. 2 hours basically from Richmond to Huntington. How many fans do you think will make that trip? And I'm going to start the over-under at 3,000. Over or under, would you take 3,000 fans here from EKU?
From EKU? That's a good question. I would say I'm going to say under, but slightly under. Okay. I don't know if we reach 3,000, but I would say it might be north of 2.
That's what my next question, if you were going under, was going to be over 2. So
I might be north of 2. And I think, don't hold me to this, but I think that the university is offering a fan bus too.
Okay.
Or to come to the game, since it is just such a short trip. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of alumni and maybe even some parents, hop on that thing. So I think I think that is what they're doing for one of those games too.
Final question I have. This is the toughest one.
No more score predictions?
No. Will A.W. Hamilton be here?
Oh yeah. That's a good possibility.
All right.
I would say that's a good possibility. I know he's got that Marshall background. He loves Marshall.
Yeah.
I know he holds it in high regard. I don't know what their schedule is as far as practice or anything like that this week. So I'm sure he's marked that day on his calendar, and maybe he gives them an off day on Saturday so he can make the trip up to Huntington.
Bring the team. That'd be
there you go.
Yeah, bring the team. Yeah. Have a little retreat. Well, Wes, it was great talking to you. We loved getting to know EKU. I appreciate all that for your contributions to that. But now, if you would, tell our fans that are watching and listening a little bit about Wes Chandler and where they can find content that maybe even this week that they might find interesting about this game.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, Russ. And so every week, part of our EKU Sports Network crew, we release what we call the Big E Breakdown. It's our ESPN, or not ESPN, but our EKU Sports Network crew. There'll be 3 of us this week, myself and 2 others, Greg Stottlemyre and Jim Tyree, will release a Big E Breakdown where we look back at the past game and also preview the Marshall game. So we'll have that out. We release that. We record it here in the next couple of days. We'll release that on YouTube, and we'll also release it on our Kernel All Access, which is through the EKUsports.com website. That'll be on there. On YouTube, it's the EKU Sports Network at EKU Sportsnet. So if you want to hear a little bit more about EKU and Marshall, we'll preview that in our Big E Breakdown. That'll come out Friday morning. We'll release it on our social media channel as well, EKU Sportsnet. So we'll talk about that. We will have an hour pregame where we go on and just kind of chat for a little bit and talk about the game and everything. So that will be at 5 o'clock Eastern time. And again, that'll be on the EKUsports.com through the Listen Live tab on the website.
Now, is that free or is that subscription?
It's free, all free.
Okay. All right.
Everything's free. Yep.
All right. So, Herd fans, you've got no excuse to not know more about our opponent now after this show and what Wes and his crew are going to have for you later this week. Wes, with that, after I sign us off, if you would stick around for just a minute, I want to talk to you after this and invite you to our tailgate, and I'll give you the details about that. But for now, whether you see us at the Jack, whether you see us at the Dot, or whether you see us this Saturday in the C lot for our tailgate and then inside the game at the Joan, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd. It's the ThunderCast, and we'll see you in the next day or so.